Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing a video talking about pets at home. So I don't know if you've ever seen these around, but Pets at Home do an array of leaflets about helping with the care and some information about the animals you might be buying in the shop. Now I obviously would say support your local shops a lot more than the big brand Pets at Home, and obviously a lot of the things they're doing wrong because they're uneducated about it. And in today's video, we're going to go over the invertebrate care guides and see what we like and what we don't like. And the two invertebrate care guides we've got with us at the moment is the praying mantis care guide and the tarantula care guide. So shall we get into it then? Okay, so we're going to go first through this care guide about the tarantulas. They're only small little leaflets, as you can see. They've got a back, a front page, and they open up like that into a book. So let's have a look then. So the front page just says tarantulas, your guide to help keep them happy and healthy. Okay, it's fine. Let's open this up and have a look. An introduction for caring for tarantulas. Okay, so it just sort of talks about some interesting things about tarantulas. They're saying they're not scary, creepy crawlies that they're sometimes portrayed as in films, which is true. Okay. They're fairly simple to care for, but are quite fragile, so children should be supervised when handling them. Should children be handling them? Probably not. Tarantulas are unpredictable. They're not tameable animals like lizards can be, like mammals can be. These guys are unpredictable. And an adult tarantula, be it New World or Old World, can cause serious harm to someone, especially a child. Some spiders can have inch thick fangs, and even an animal like this male, Vitalis chromatus, can cause some serious damage. I would never recommend children to hold a tarantula unless under supervision from a professional. Even then, there are still risks involved. I think to start off saying children can handle them, but they need to, be supervised. It's a bit of a stretch to start off with. Okay. Tarantula's vivarium does not take up a lot of space, but males of some species can live around 10 years. Yes, they can. I'd say 10 years tends to be a maximum. I'd say between 5 and 8 years are the pretty good average for most species. And females around 20 years. Yeah, even longer. So they're a big commitment in that respect. That's true. Tarantulas are nocturnal. That is true. Okay, so just a brief introduction there. Okay, tarantulas can be found in Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, but the most popular species of tarantula originally come from South and Central America. True, they can be found in all of those locations. Only Southern Europe, really. Obviously, they can be found in North America, Australia, and most of Asia, specifically Eastern Asia. They haven't really mentioned that, and they've said, I think true that South and Central Americans are really popular, but Northern Americans are popular for beginners. Okay. To keep them comfy here, you need a temperature-controlled vivarium with an appropriate thermostat. Maybe it's not necessarily a need. A lot of people say if you're comfortable, your spiders are comfortable. Now, where that is true, what it means is if you're freezing cold with clothes on, or you're warm with clothes on, obviously your spider's not okay. You want to have a good ambient temperature. Okay, for a young spider, and depending on their preferred habitat, arboreal or terrestrial, this should be around 30 long by 15 wide by 15 tall, and that's in centimeters. Okay, I have a little bit of a problem with that. That's not really the case. I mean, I think a lot of adults can be fine on a 30, 15, 15. A lot of terrestrial adults. I mean, not even getting into the fact that there are dwarf tarantulas, but that's a large enough size. The problem is they've said young tarantulas, possibly slings included. Guys, you don't want to keep slings in anything like that. Your slings are perfectly fine in little pill bottles. That is not 30 centimeters long. That's more than enough swim. Because with any spiders, they need to effectively be able to get their prey. You put a little spider into a 30 centimeter long enclosure straight away, like this one here, and you're going to struggle for it to find food. As you can see here, in fact, this is a 30 centimetre long by 15 high by 15 wide. And I've got a large juvenile Brachypelma bomi in here, which is a good beginner species. And they will most likely spend the rest of their life in a setup like this, if not a little bit bigger. Okay. Tarantulas will grow significantly, and after a few months, they take a while to grow normally. They'll need to be moved to a bigger vivarium depending on the species that's 40 to 70 centimetres long, 30 wide, and 30 high. I think the only spiders that you'd be putting in there are large spiders, Goliath bird eaters, and things like that. Most tarantulas will not need 40 centimetres, let alone 70 in length. I think that's a lot. Not necessarily true. Okay, so next goes on to talk about keeping them warm and cozy. They mostly like 25 degrees Celsius. True. Some species will appreciate a lot higher. I think 27 is a good number. 25 is a fine number. Your tarantulas will be comfortable down to about 18 degrees Celsius, I would say, which is where it gets in my house in the winter time. That's fine. To heat your vivarium, use a ceramic lamp, heat mat, or okay, fine. That's not true. I wouldn't use a ceramic heater with tarantulas. I've heard a lot of people say that tarantulas don't tend to move themselves out, and ceramic heaters in such a small tank is going to cook this animal. They're not going to be able to get away from the heat. Heat mats are good because they will cover one side and they won't warm much. Is it good to have a light bulb that will cover the whole thing? No, probably not. They're hard to control without a thermostat in the long run. Instead of getting a 5, 10, 15 pound heat mat, you're going to spend lots of money on a thermostat and a bulb just to do the wrong thing. Your tarantula will be too hot. What I'd recommend doing is having a better ambient heating. Now, obviously, as you can see here, I've got some vivariums and I have heat mats at the bottom. My room in the summer can be in the 30s. It's really hot. And now, even in the winter, beginning of winter, I'm still seeing 23, 24. And that's an ambient heating. If you can get an ambient oil heater, do it. Your spiders will thank you. Okay. Use some non-toxic artificial decor. True. Of course, if you've got some more tropical spiders, try to use real plants because they can hold on to that moisture. Most tarantulas love to burrow, so cover the floor in a suitable soil/sand mixture. I wouldn't use just sand that can't really hold moisture, nor a burrow. I wouldn't use just soil again because it can't hold a real burrow. I feel like they could have given some name examples there, guys. I'd normally use a cocoa fiber mix with some sort of topsoil. There are plenty of spider brands, even the Habitat spider bedding. I've got it right here. This is a perfect mixture for most of your spiders, and then you have to either let that be wet or dry. That's up to your choice. You can also consider using orchid bark and vermiculite. I really wouldn't. Orchid bark is a problem. It can be sharp. It can be hard to dig through. I really wouldn't. A lot of people have said they've had issues with that. Okay, bioactive setups are possible. In these setups, using specific substrate mixes, suitable invertebrates, usually called the cleanup crew, break down waste, providing a source of nutrients and beneficial bacteria, fungi, and live plants. True. Now, they said suitable invertebrates. They haven't really named them. Most people think isopods when you think cleanup crew. You could even go as far to say millipedes. With tarantulas, springtails will do it. Isopods can cause harm to a molting tarantula. Stick with springtails, guys. Okay. The hunt is on. You should feed your tarantula 2 to 3 times a week. I feed mine once a week, maybe once every 10 days. I prefer to do a larger feeding at that time though. You don't want to overfeed your spiders, especially with your terrestrials. If you overfeed them and they get really fat and they fall and rupture their abdomen, there is nothing you can do. Don't overfeed. That's probably too much. This might be the worst thing to come. As an occasional treat, you can also give them a defrosted frozen rodent, such as a pinky mouse. Guys, you will regret this so much. Yes, a tarantula will eat a pinky mouse, a frozen one. I cannot understand why. It's not going to benefit them at all. They don't need it. They're happy on any other live foods. All you're going to do is create a stinking, rotting mess inside this enclosure that is hard to clean. You'll have to do a substrate swap. You will seriously regret doing anything like that. And I'm surprised that that's in there because you do not need that. Your spider needs a water dish, shallow and fresh. That's true. You can give them humidity. Okay. Handle with care. So they're sort of talking about saying that they're good-natured creatures and they can be taken out of a vivarium and handled. I'm not against handling spiders. I handle mine occasionally when I like to show them to people or just every now and then. But I really wouldn't recommend it. They say they are venomous. It feels like a bee sting, so you may wish to wear gloves. Tarantulas can also flick irritating hairs towards a threat, which can cause itching. True, in New Worlds. I'm guessing Pets at Home don't sell Old World tarantulas. I know they sell New Worlds, but I also know they're crap with identifying them correctly. So they can make mistakes there. Or if someone picks this up, goes online and buys a spider, and they think, oh, the worst that can happen is a bee sting. Wrong. Some spiders are significantly, especially if you have allergies, really, really bad. They can cause serious problems, serious swelling. So this isn't actually true. I feel like this is giving people too much confidence. Yes, you can wear gloves that will help with eradicating hairs in your hand, and it will help with bee stings. Your tarantula is more likely to break its fangs and die if it bites you when you've got gloves on. Really, you shouldn't be holding your spider so it will bite you. You know, it can cause itching. Yeah, it's true. Some people wear eye protection just to be safe. That's fair enough, especially with your largers like Goliath bird ears. You'd even wear a mask then. But with some just gentle, regular handling, your spider will come more used to being lifted up. That's not true. Spiders are untamable. There's a big debate to if spiders even have memory. There is no way that a spider is going to remember being held up and feel comfortable with that over time. If they do something and they're uncomfortable, they will bolt. They were not happy with that. As soon as you move a spider out of its enclosure, out away from its web, it is in shock. It doesn't know what's going on. It's already worrying at that point. It will not think, oh, it's okay, I recognise its hand, because it doesn't. Just be sure to hold them gently, but firmly, so they can't jump off and hurt themselves. Oh, don't grab a spider firmly. You'll regret that. Okay. One's company. Tarantulas are quite happy by themselves and don't need company. More like tarantulas have to be by themselves. If this is a beginner reading this guide, they're not going to start communal, guys. They will make a mistake. Goes on to say about boys and girls, which is true. Everything they said there is true about hooks and being hard to identify. Okay, so they say tarantulas will shed their skin. They will molt their exoskeleton. Baby spiders will shed every few weeks in their first year. Not necessarily. I've got hatchlings who still haven't molted now in end of September. End of September that were born in the beginning of December last year. So without molt, they molted to about 0.5 centimeters. Probably only out with their third molt. Okay. Then there's a no smooching now section where it talks about not letting children, pregnant women, elderly, people with weakened immune systems hold or pay attention to the hygiene when you're feeding, keeping away from your face and mouth. That's good enough, I suppose, to keep us at whole. Right, let's have a look on the back. Okay, and just to end it off, there's a your tarantula is happy checklist. Okay, vivarium, tick. Heat mat, tick. Thermostat, if necessary. Digital thermometer ×2. No. You're gonna know how hot it is in there, guys. It's obvious. You don't need it to be that hot. Gut loading product for live food. Tarantulas do benefit from their live food being gut loaded. Shallow water dish. Yes, for moisture, more so than drinking, although I have observed mine drinking. Reptile safe disinfectant. Yes, don't clean anything without being reptile safe, but at the same time, you probably won't need to clean anything. Substrate, yes. Damp hide. More like just a hide. It doesn't necessarily have to be sprayed to be damp. Not at all. Vivarium furniture such as artificial plants and branches. True, species dependent. You're not going to overfill a fossorial with branches. An arboreal will definitely need that. A book for caring for tarantulas. Hopefully not if anything like this. Guys, Pets at Home is not the place. These guys are not experts in reptiles and invertebrates at all. I honestly think that a lot of the information that they gave here were unsafe for people, let alone the animal. I think that this was, I mean, especially with the heating and the pinky mice, this was a really, really bad idea of how to have your tarantulas. There are so many better things you can do. As you can see here, I don't keep mine in enclosures of that size or magnitude. I think that that's a really poor idea from Pets at Home. And let's just show you what is a better tarantula enclosure than that. Okay, guys, this is nowhere near a care good video. Remember, each tarantula's care is different. But here's a Brachypelma bomi, the Mexican fireleg, a brilliant starter tarantula, pre-molt, as you can see, in a 30 by 15 by 15 enclosure. She has some light decor that she rarely uses that she can use to hide, a water dish, and that is it. I don't keep her heated. Now, I do normally have a heat mat just here above my electronics, and that will heat all the way up. In fact, on the top row here, in the middle of winter, you can see the thermostat reading 20 degrees, and I don't actually have the thermostat there. Now, this is partly all to do with my vivariums as well, but come on, that guide was just crap. It did not need to be that complex, and everything they did make complex, they got wrong. Please don't feed pinky mice, guys. You'll regret it. Okay, last and not least is the praying mantis guide. So the last one was obviously quite bad. It was general, and some things they got very wrong that could be dangerous for yourself or the animal, or just a complete nuisance. So we've got the praying mantis guide here now. We've got a picture of the giant Asian mantis on the front. So hopefully this is much better. So it starts off the same. Okay. Starts off the same. Wants you and your animal to be happy. In the first paragraph, it does mention that praying mantises prefer to be on their own company and should be kept by themselves. Yep, I'd say a lot of species need to be kept by themselves at a beginner level. Okay. Now, they will need to be housed in a well-ventilated plastic or glass vivarium. Correct. Well-ventilated is a very key point. Most mantises love the warmth. A consistent daytime temperature for around 22 to 25 degrees Celsius is suitable for the most popular species. True. Very true. Mantis don't need any special lighting, but you might want to use some to see your new friends. Okay. A young mantis doesn't need to take up much space, but as they grow, they will need a larger home within a few months. They should be at least 2 to 3 times larger than a lengthier mantis, so they can comfortably wriggle out of their old skin when it comes to shedding it. They molt their exoskeleton, they don't shed their skin. That's true. Everything about that is correct. With all invertebrates, depending on their characteristics, so mantises being arboreal, are going to want to have 3 times their height, no, 3 times their length in height. That's fair, that's true. And of course, that works in the same case for spiders and any other invertebrate in lengthwise, for example. Okay. In the wild, most types of mantis live happily in the trees and bushes and rarely come down to the ground. So for your mantis, flooring, you can simply use a moisture-retaining substrate of cocoa fibre or paper towels. Okay, true. Wouldn't use paper towels, they don't have much longevity in them. Cocoa fibre is a good choice. I would say try to use a tropical substrate though, more. Maybe even moss as well, guys. It's really great with moisture. A water dish isn't usually necessary as a mantis will drink droplets of plants in their own body. True. Feed your mantis 2 to 3 times a week. That's a lot. They like overfeeding. Once a week is fine, unless you're doing smaller food prey. Of course, you can feed cockroaches. They've said you can feed cockroaches, locusts, crickets, flies, and flying insects. Yes, you can use green bottles as a flying insect. You can use fruit flies, crickets, locusts. Larger species could have cockroaches or very small roaches. Um, as long as it is smaller than their abdomen, which is actually stated here, yes. Same size as your mantis abdomen. Perfect. Talks about handling. Mantises are a perfect invertebrate to handle. They kind of go through that. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Mantis checklist. A vivarium or other glass/plastic housing. Correct. Suitable lighting if required. If required. Thermometer to monitor temperature. Live crickets or any other insect. Yep. Gut loading for your live food. Yep. Spray bottle. Yes. Spray down the enclosure every day. Heating. Insect safe disinfectant if you're cleaning all the time. Substrate, of course. Decor, of course. And a book about mantis. Yes. Do more research. The mantis one was less of a letdown than this one. Sorry, my Camphodaculus pilatus has just been eating. That's one of the few times I've ever seen him actually capture as prey. Sorry about that. Yes, the two care guides are crap. The first one worse than the other. The tarantula care guide is really bad. The praying mantis one has problems, but is actually good. In all fairness, it comes to show sort of the lack of knowledge and experience Pets at Home has with invertebrates. And in another video where we cover lizards and geckos, and in another one where we cover the frogs, you'll see that they really struggle with their knowledge. Guys, never buy these animals from Pets at Home. They are seriously overcharged. For example, guys, I can see praying mantises and they're selling for 25 quid. I wouldn't buy them for more than 6 or 7 quid from a reputable shop. Tarantulas can go for ridiculous prices, or they'll be labelled as the wrong thing. Yes, you might think, oh, a bearded dragon, £50, that's great. It's not. And when we get into that, we'll talk about that then. So until then, guys, thank you for watching this video. I'm really happy about that. I'd say tomorrow, which is the 25th of September, we've got a really important video coming out. It's a £200 Spider Shop mystery unboxing, and I'm really looking forward to that one. So until then, peace out and enjoy. Thank you.